who has these narcissistic traits, and then you start to look at them through that, it's extremely dangerous if they're not like that. Let me give you an example. Let's say you see me walk into a store, and when I walk into the store, you see me actually take something off the shelf and walk out. 2 weeks later, I end up in your living room because of a mutual friend. How are you going to view me? You're going to view me as a thief, and you're going to be very wary of who I am and what my character is because you've labeled me as a thief. But you didn't see that an hour before I actually went in and paid. That changes the whole situation. And I was in there just to take what was rightfully mine. So when you label someone mentally and you're looking at them through a certain lens, it's extremely dangerous because now that is impression management towards yourself, not other people, but I've actually labeled you and who you are. And once I put that on your character, it's extremely dangerous. It's not something light. So be very careful with labeling people because at the end of the day, intentions are extremely complex. Now, that being said, the world has turned narcissistic generally because people are worshiping their own desires, bottom line. People have come to a point where they're egotistical to such a point that everything is self-centered around what I want, what I believe, my opinion. And when this happens, we are actually pushing narcissism into our culture. And now you see the internet and with what it has caused, where I'm constantly snapping selfies. So it's almost like pushing narcissism into these kinds of realities that we're facing today, where kids are literally in their room 24/7. They don't want to even talk to the parents because the phone has become the parent. It's become the grandparents. It's become the friend. It's become everything. Now, also that being said, technology is great. It's amazing. It connects us in so many ways. I'm not harping on, technology, but it also has done some damage. Okay, that's enough of an intro. Let's dive in and look at these symptoms and for what they really are. And first here, I want to literally read word for word what is narcissistic personality disorder in the DSM-5. Narcissistic personality disorder is defined as a pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, need for admiration, a lack of empathy. These patterns begin in early adulthood and is present in various contexts. Okay, so they're giving us some structure here, but let's start to go one by one through these and what they are. So number one, when you start to look at these things, I want you to really start to map this out, how you actually would do and look at yourself first. Number one is the grandiose aspect of it, which is self-importance. When I look at myself, I exaggerate certain talents. I want an unearned social acceptance of my competence. I want an unearned status. I want an unearned relationship. I want an unearned money level. When I do that, I have no competence to earn the category or the characteristic. So I promote myself because I'm important. I begin to push myself, self-promotion, to look a certain way in front of people. That's number one. Number two, when we begin to understand, it's when we become almost preoccupied in a power struggle, brilliance, relationship. I become obsessed, okay? Preoccupied meaning that I'm totally focused in about what I'm doing here with some of the things I just mentioned. Now, this is extremely important. Why? Because when I become preoccupied, which is number two, I become preoccupied, and this would kind of lead to number three, which is I believe I'm unique, I'm special, there's no one like me, and I can only be understood by certain levels of people where they're so high and they have status, they have money, they have capabilities that are not normal. So I name drop here and I do this here. Why? Because I'm only the one who's this special. I'm very unique. So I want you to see here how these things start to build, because you're going to see how they map on the Islamic factors and how we're going to go after that. Now, okay. Number 3 is feeling special and getting yourself to that point where, hey, I'm the most unique thing. When God created me, he broke the mold. Okay, these are the kinds of things. But number 4 is excessive admiration. And this is a need to constantly you need people to almost all the time. I remember there was one person, just a kind of example popped into my head. They would go to the mall and they would dress up in such a way that they needed attention. And I remember this person telling me the story, but they needed attention. Why? So they needed to get looks from people. And if they didn't, they'd actually feel bad about themselves. So constant reinforcement of actual like admiration. This is what leads into, by the way, in terms of self-conceit. Now, number 5 is they have a sense of entitlement. And this goes to the youth here. And please don't underestimate what the youth can do. They're doing amazing things. I have a lot of people who I work with personally who are extremely talented as youth. I'm not knocking the youth here. I'm just saying the things they're going through are not the things that we went through. The things that they're going through, their challenges, their struggles, their situations are completely different. And I'm sorry to say, a lot of them are growing up entitled. And this is a label that's been put on the youth. Again, not all, and I'm not saying that there's not positivity, but this is a challenge that they have to go through in their lifetime. And that entitlement is make them more segregated and by themselves and drifting off towards their own weak ideas and thoughts. So, but they have a sense of entitlement. That's number 5. Number 6, they exploit people. They have a personality that they can exploit. They can get what they want from you. They can take something and it's literally, they know it's not theirs. But at the end of the day, they're after that, of what you want. Okay. And this will lead into the last, I think, one that we have on here, which is they want what other people, have, but they don't want you to have it, which is a form of envy. But I want to say here, and this is something I think that's extremely, extremely important. It's like, this is a person who wants constant compliance to what they want, and they don't care about what others want. They set their expectations and they want you to meet those expectations. And the second you don't, this is the problem. They literally come after you. My expectations are king. My feelings are king. Everything about me, I'm special, remember? That will shift blame away from themselves, will put blame on you, and life is always unfair. And I'm telling you, the first person who loses from having a perspective of an unfair life is you. Because what's underneath that is victimization, and what's underneath that is anger. And anger is about blame. Okay, who are you blaming really? You're pointing the finger really back at you. Why would you want to walk around feeling angry? Versus the other side, life is fair. There's so much abundance. Everything is amazing. I have so much. God's giving me so much. There's no way I could ever thank God. Okay, imagine somebody gives you a heart, or somebody gives you a kidney. Okay, you're indebted to them eternally. But imagine God, who gave you your whole body, your mind, your hands, your feet, your eyes. He's giving you everything. But at the end of the day, do we really thank God for that? If I were to give you $5 million for your eyes, you say no. Okay, so imagine the value of that. But do we really feel that. We can say it and it's easy. It's easy to say these things. To feel them is another thing. So that's number 6. Okay. And number 7 is they literally lack empathy. Why? Because an empath is not just about me connecting to you and feeling what you're feeling. Okay. It's not just about that. It's also when you're in trouble, I say something about it. And if you're in trouble and I say something, that person doesn't stop, I'm going to do something physically about it. So it takes action. Empathy is extremely important. Why? Because at the end of the day, we have to feel with others. It's feeling what someone else is feeling. It's going into their shoes. It's understanding their perspective, mentally and emotionally, understanding their pain. When you lack that, you become selfish. I don't want to spend time with you. I'm too good for you because I'm king. I'm the man. You need me. I don't need you. These things, when you become self-centered and egocentric, you're the center of the universe. Egotistical people are like that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't serve you because nobody wants to be around you at the end when you expand in terms of relationships. So I'm going to leave it there. That's number 7. Number 8 is when they are almost, and I think this is a very crucial point, which is envy. They are envious of others, and others, they think that others are envious of them. So really think about that. I envy you. Okay, envy, the basic definition of envy is I want what you have and I want you to lose it. I want you to lose. I see you have something that's better than mine. So the first step to envy is comparison. I have to compare myself to you. And then when I compare myself, I feel inferior. So that's the second thing. And then when I feel inferior, I've compared myself, I feel inferior, then I want you to lose what you have and I want to gain it. That's envy. That's hasad. Now, when you take that, imagine someone who walks around doing that to people. And imagine you're a close friend of a person like that. That is scary. I want you to really understand that ailments of the heart, diseases of the heart are real. They exist. When someone has trouble with let's say, alcohol, that's a disease of the heart. When someone has trouble in terms of lustful thinking, that's a disease of the heart. So if you're my sister and you see someone like that, trust me, there's a disease on the inside. That's why you should cover. Again, we're not blaming here at all. There's responsibilities on all levels here. But at the end of the day, you got to watch yourself because there are men that are diseased like that, and they're not going to have mercy on you. So at the end of the day, it's so special when you start to understand the factors and how they work and how you apply in terms of life. So envy is a very dangerous thing. It's not something simple, and it's not something you could just uproot from the heart. And we're going to give some antidotes to these at the end. But and the last one, which is the 9th one, they're arrogant. There's a sense of arrogance to them. They're haughty. They're aloof. They think they're better than someone. Let's say I'm talking to you and you're on your phone. And I'm literally, your attention is divided between the phone and myself. And you're having a conversation with me. I'm sorry. There's an etiquette here of arrogance. There's a element here of dismissiveness. There's an element here that, you know what? You matter, but only this much. So the way I pay attention to you is the way I value you. Versus someone who's listening, actively listening to you. But their behavior is also showing you that they're actually listening. But what if I'm talking to you and we're having a conversation and I look at my watch? What does that indicate? I'm running out of time, let's say. But it doesn't feel good. Something doesn't feel right. Why? Because I just made you feel a little bit less important. And people use these tactics. These are forms of etiquettes that make you look arrogant. And the first level of arrogance, the first being to be arrogant was who? Iblis. In terms of religious conversation, in terms of a satanic element of that. And that energy exists and it is real. And on those factors, that energy and that when it comes towards you, okay, that was the first entity that went against God. And then when Allah Azza wa Jal said, Usjud li Adam, okay, bow down to Adam. That's Allah's command, which is Allah's opinion. But Iblis, Satan, had a different opinion. And he was saying, your opinion is here. My opinion is better. I'll worship you, but I want to worship you. I'm not going to bow down to him. So I want to worship God the way I want. This is dangerous. You can't just pull out from the religion the things you want. You can't do that. You don't have enough knowledge to understand the differences. So that's why we have maraja. That's why we follow in terms of these kinds of things. So on that level, we have to understand all these 9 have some kind of religious aspect to them where we're studying personality. We're looking at personality. I've studied personality, and this is literally my favorite thing. And I'm going to give you something at the end that's extremely powerful. Why? Because it's so amazing how these load onto the 5-factor model, the 3 principles that we're going to talk about, which is envy, self-conceit, and pride, which is kibr. Ujub and kibr, ujub, and the last one, it's not coming to me in Arabic, but it's hasad. That, which is envy. Those 3 are how these things map on to this. Now, how are these symptoms divided? Let's say these 9. Okay, so I think one of the most powerful things that we could do is when we start to take science and we start to merge it and see how it supports what religion has always said. Religion is king. It's the ideology of what we are. Every one of us has an ideology, and we present that ideology through a methodology. That methodology is either, when you apply it, it's either going to give you a good result in reality or not. But at the end of the day, these principles from hasad, which is envy, okay, kibr, which is feeling haughty, feeling arrogant, I'm above, superiority, and ujub, which is self-conceit, self-admiration. I'm the center of the world. So that's how these load. Okay, but I'm going to give you from the 9, from all 9, okay? Here's how they load. On the first one is kibr, meaning that pride manifests as a sense of like superiority over others, and it's the spiritual blindness that actually happens towards God. Because at the end of the day, when you become arrogant, what you're really saying is, I'm not dependent on God. In the Quran, it says, أَرَأَيْتَهُ اسْتَغْنَى إِنَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الرُّجْعَى. Okay, does he think of himself as self-sufficient? That you don't need anything? Can you move the clouds? No. Can you make the tree grow? No. You can smile? Sure, that's under your control. But your control is limited. Now let me give you this equation to show you that you are created. And if you're created, you're limited. Everything that is created is limited. Test that premise. Everything that is created is limited. Test that premise. I am limited because I can't control everything. Therefore, I am created. This is the power of logic when you download premise, conclusion. Now, where is your arrogance? Why should you be arrogant? Because at the end of the day, if you are limited, it means there's something above you that you have to submit to. It's that simple. Arrogance and submission do not go hand in hand. And we said the first satanic element was when Satan himself was commanded by God to obey and bow down, and he didn't. So on that level, arrogance comes into place. Now, from those 9 symptoms, 1, 3, 5, and 9 load on kibr. So if you want to go back, you can set those up and you can see how that works. Now, 1, 3, 5, and 9 load onto the characteristic of kibr. Those all go hand in hand. Number 2 is self-conceit. And self-conceit, I think, is extremely important here. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's the basis of it is it blinds the person from their own faults. This is blame shifting. So ujub, meaning self-conceit, it doesn't allow the person to point the finger back in themselves. I don't have any flaws. It's you're the one that is wrong. You moved this thing. No, I didn't. You took the car and you hit it. No, I didn't. It's always life's fault. And this person is an expert in giving excuses. So that's number 2 in terms of what loads onto that one is number 2 and number 4. Okay. Those out of the 9 symptoms, what loads onto self-conceit is number 2 and number 4. Okay. Go back and you can map these out in terms of how you want to see. I just took those 9 and I mapped them out on the 3 that are within the Islamic context. And number 3 is envy. And we have 6, 7, and 8 load onto envy. And envy kind of, it arises from the ego's resistance to others' success. Okay. It's like my ego, I don't want you to succeed. And leading to resentment, feelings like exploitation, and spiritual decay. Okay, you're spiritually hurting as a person, and envy is literally like the prophet says it eats away faith like fire eats away wood. That's incredible when you really think about that, because your faith is literally right here in your heart, and this thing can go blind. This thing will stay wide open. You can see. But when this thing is covered and it's blind, you're done. And it can be sealed because of an envious nature that you have, that you've actually created within yourself. So, number 1 was kibr. 1, 3, 5, and 9 load onto that one. Okay. Number 2 was self-conceit. 2 and 4 load onto that one. And number 3 is envy, which is we have 7, 8, and 9 load on to that one. 6, 7, and 8 load onto that one. Okay. You can go back and map that out if you'd like, but I just want to now go into these 3. These are the main 3 that now we've taken everything. And if you see someone who's prideful, if you see someone who's self-conceited, okay, if you see someone who's envious, okay, now you start to see, okay, these are elements I got to be very careful of. Because I'm starting to diagnose and I'm starting to see. Self-conceit, I think, is very easy to spot. If you see somebody who's constantly needing attention, who constantly is needing this form of praise, they constantly are putting themselves out there in a particular way. Now, I don't have to tell you about what, social media has done to that. And everyone wants an audience. Everyone is the center of attention. If you're scrolling, how many people are behind a microphone? That's what we've turned it into opinion. Everyone's got an opinion. And now we're going to give God our opinion in terms of we've become so arrogant in that kind of level. So Islam comes in, and what does it tell you? Islam tells you submit. Submit. Islam is against this push in culture. Islam allows you to go back and look at your faults. It pushes this. It pushes remorse. It pushes guilt. Now, guilt is just a discomfort to nudge you in the right direction. It's not self-hate. That's not what we're talking about. It's feeling that remorse, that guilt, that I've done something wrong. When you're about to pray, when you're about to do that, pray. But right before you pray, think of something you've done wrong to someone. Think of something that you've hurt another person, Think of you cheated on an exam. Think that, you know what, when I went to see my dad, I looked at him in a very nasty way. I looked at my mom. She needed help to take out the garbage. I literally walked out by the garbage. I left it. I didn't care. She'd do it later on her own. Okay. All these things. Think of that when you're about to pray. Think of that. What Islam does is it comes in and it cleans the heart. وَنَفْسٌ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Das in Arabic is the one who's fooled himself. And then the other side is the one who's purified himself. Okay? On that level, Islam comes in and starts to clean the heart. It starts to purify the heart. How? From envy, self-conceit, and bigotry, hatred of others. Some people are better than others. They were chosen in terms of this kind of faith or this kind of faith. Or this, we're all equal. The Prophet says, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, says, people are like a comb, the teeth of a comb. They're all equal. That's the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Islam has no bigotry in it. When you go to Hajj, you see black, white, red, green, all types of people. They're all wearing the same clothing. Islam promotes the most beautiful things. And at the end of the day, you truly want to find Islam, find its roots. Understand the way it works. Don't just judge it from the outside, okay? Because you can be fed a narrative and it might not be good for you. But at the end of the day, we're all going to face Allah Azza wa Jal. We're all going to be standing. It says in the Quran, it says, وَهَلَكَ عَنِّي سُلْطَانِيَا. Right now, you have an opinion. But when we're in front of Allah, when we're in front of God, you're not going to have an opinion. Your own free will to speak is going to be taken away from you. So that, you should be thinking about that when you take history and you stand on one side of it or not. You got to be very careful how you think. And you got to be very careful what positions you take. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, positions and leadership is taken through two things. Positions, when you take a position, and through principle. That's what leadership is. Now, Islam comes to clean the heart. It's for you to submit, not to be arrogant, not to rise because I have money, because I have a pretty wife, or I have a great looking husband, okay, that I want to promote to the world, or I have status and I want everybody to see who I am. Islam doesn't work that way. Islam allows the heart to submit to something greater. That when you submit, you rise. When your forehead hits the floor, okay, and it hits the ground, you rise. Why? Because the limited is connecting to the unlimited. The limited is connected to the unlimited. That's the most powerful place. You want to ask there when your face, the most dignified thing you own, is on the ground. I've said this before, and I will keep saying it, and I will say tomorrow, the day after, as long as God gives me the ability to speak, I will say that. Because that is the ultimate form of the heart being cleansed, is when I can submit to something greater than me. One word in the mind, dependency. Feel dependent. You want to remove arrogance. You want to remove envy. You want to remove self-conceit. Feel dependent. Know your dependency, that you are limited. You have so many things you have to rely on. Try to go without water for 10 days. You're limited. Try to go without food. What happens to you? You're constantly in need. Allah has made these things for us. Why? To go back to Him, to know that we are in need. Now, on that level, let's go to question 3. What are some of the antidotes? Okay? And we'll go towards first pride. Okay? What does Islam teach us in terms of us? Let's say I do feel arrogant. Let's say I do feel haughty. Let's say I'm a boxer. Let's say I'm a singer. Let's say I'm a scholar. You know what I mean? It can hit anybody. Pride can hit anybody. Okay? But let's say I'm any one of these. Okay? Now, I think I think at the basis of this is a inflated sense of superiority over other people. The essence of kibr, the essence of pride is feeling that I am superior to others. And I think here is that at the essence of this, we have to be very careful, because we can claim that we are Muslims, the right types of religions that are out there as well, that follow the people of the book, that follow correctly. Okay, on these kinds of levels, we can claim to be these things, but we can get hit all the time, anywhere. Any one of us can be poisoned with these kinds of feelings. And one of the first things that we can go against if we're trying to remove kibr from the heart, one of the first things is self-reflection. And I mentioned earlier, self-reflection is a key. Why? What am I reflecting on? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض. Allah Azza wa Jal has given us the Quran because it's a place of reflection. About who? About me. The Quran talks to you about your state of being. And those who are constantly thinking, they reflect about Allah Azza wa Jal, His superiority, His wisdom. I want what Allah wants for me, and I despise what Allah despises for me. That's submission. I submit to His will. I submit to His want. And I submit to His wisdom. When I do that, that is incredible. That is something very, very special. That's an emotion you have to go towards, because that makes you human. But the basis of humanity is to be humble. Humility is key, which is the second thing you can go towards. Self-reflection, number one. Look within yourself. Do introspection. Look at yourself in terms of how limited you are. But look at what Allah has given you. Number two, humility is everything. Feeling humble, submissive, feeling towards something that is so much greater than you. We're not talking about people here. Fir'aun got to the highest points of arrogance. فَحَشَرَ فَنَادَى فَقَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. He gathered people and he says, am I not your highest Lord? Some of us, we become like that. And we do so much, okay, that we want that admiration, self-admiration. And I'll talk about that in a second. But, and I think here, understanding divine, like Allah's majesty, divine power and superiority, and knowing that you are dependent on that, and you are absolutely dependent on an absolute independent. Just that statement alone, if you can take some time and unravel that, you'll start to see that absoluteness only is with Allah. Everything else is relative. That is the beauty. Now, if you start to do this and you start to realize that I'm limited, Allah's unlimited. I don't have full control. Allah has all control. My wisdom is not all-encompassing. Allah's wisdom is all-encompassing. I start to reflect on these things. I start to humble myself. And then I become aware and I go into a state of awe. Like, how can the sun just be standing there? That if it moves a little closer, everything on earth will just like literally dissipate. But if Allah creates the sun, you don't think He can create hellfire? Really reflect. This is reflection. It's reducing arrogance and becoming submissive. The heart starts to feel tranquil. This is the beginning of tranquility, when you submit. Everything submitted except who? Satan. Everything submitted. Everything submitted to Allah. All the angels, everything submitted to Allah. All of them bowed down to His command. Now, there was another side. Don't be on that side. Submit willingly, emotionally. Thinking, feeling, submission, action. That is the most beautiful thing you can go towards when you have this kind of haughtiness in the heart. I want people to see me, who I am. I want my name in lights. You don't want people to know you. When you give without anybody seeing. That is the most beautiful thing for your own heart. That's cleansing the heart. Now, number two, which is self-conceit, ujub. And I think for me, I think here, what I mentioned, I think in this verse, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي خلق اقرأ okay, I'm gonna skip that. I'm gonna get to the point where I was gonna اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه استغنى إن إلى ربك الرجعى أرأيت الذي ينهى عبدا إذا صلى أرأيت إن كان على الهدى أو أمر بالتقوى أرأيت إن كذب وتولى ألم يعلم بأن الله يرى. Does he think of himself? This is the next line. Does he think of himself as being independent? Does he not know that Allah is watching you? Does he not read the Quran when it says بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادحا إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه. You're going to surely meet your Lord. إن إلى ربك المنتهى. The end, you're going to be standing in front of Allah. You're going to be asked for what you've done. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يرى. If you do an atom's weight, you're going to be asked for of good. All good is counted. And if you do an atom's weight of bad, it's going to be counted and you're going to see it. You're going to see it. It's going to be standing right in front of you, that your own intention is going to come out and it's going to speak against you. Fear that day. Humble yourself in that way and watch envy come out of your heart. Watch haughtiness come out of your heart. Watch self-conceit come out of your heart. And I think acknowledging divine grace is extremely important for this. And this is something that I really appreciate about our religion and what we have here. My religion, other religions have also taught this. And I think it's beautiful that mankind has this kind of capability to reach for these things. And you have it as well. Reach for these things. Number two, in terms of this, so acknowledging divine grace. Number two is gratitude. I can't tell you, I can't speak enough about this. There's so much on gratitude. There's a lot out there. But one thing I would tell you on just gratitude itself, cultivating a sense of like thankfulness. This is the biggest attribution to God's mercy. You seeing God's mercy. And the reason why I'm saying this to you is please watch this. If I look at life through the lens of mercy versus the lens of anger, if I have a general lens and my lens is mercy, because Allah is merciful, I begin to see things differently. How? When I'm judging you and I have a heart of mercy, I'm not saying I'm naive. My mind is sharp. Keep your heart merciful. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Allah's talking to the Prophet here. If your heart was hard, people will flee from you. The heart of the Prophet was soft, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was soft. It was encompassing of people. It had mercy in it. Hold on to mercy. Because when you have mercy in here, you project it to the world. Your mind is precautious. You want to play chess? We can play chess. Even some maraja say it's haram. You shouldn't play chess. Some say it's okay. But at the end of the day, it's on you. That's something that's different. But here, it's extremely important to understand. You want to play mental chess? Come at me. My mind's too sharp. You're not going to get away. But I'm not going to remove my me, feeling mercy in my heart. You're not going to take that away from me. I want that in my heart. Because I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to feel down. I don't want to feel depressed. I don't want that. You can't take mercy away from me. So when you inject yourself with mercy first and you project it to the world, now when someone makes a mistake with you, and you're wise, you're not letting them off in terms of your justice system. Let's say you're just, you've taken care of, if they stepped outside, you can hold them at justice. You can hold the justice part of it. But let's say they need the mercy, but you have anger in your heart. If I come with you and I now have a heart of mercy, I'm going to give you an excuse. I'm going to say, you know what? You're late because of this. I understand. It's I'm gonna look, hey, are you okay? Is there something wrong with you? You know, your work is kind of lacking. Is there something here that's do you need anything? Are you having money issues? I will look what's behind the action. That's what a heart of mercy does. But a heart of anger, what does it do? This is why gratitude is so important. It's extremely important to have gratitude. It's extremely important. Why? Because at this point, if I have anger in my heart, I'm going to blame your personality. You cut me off, you're a bad person. But if somebody cuts me off, oh, I was in a hurry. See, I give myself an excuse. I won't give others an excuse. Feeling gratitude is the most beautiful thing you can own for yourself. Gratitude is selfish first. Imagine walking around with a heart of gratitude all the time. Some people will start to hate you because they don't want you to have that. Right? They'll have envy in their heart. But be very careful with that, because I think to get to gratitude, we need constant, which is another removal that we can remove self-conceit with, is self-assessment. You'll always have to be assessing yourself. Take account, okay, of who you are. And I think this is beautiful when you can have self-awareness of your mistakes, your faults. And there's other lectures that I have and presentations that talk about erasing a habit and how you do that. There's 5 steps to that. Even the website that we just put up, I'm pretty sure it's on there. But I think it's extremely important to understand that. Now, last thing, hasad. Okay, contentment. I think contentment here is a desire for others to be. We explained hasad is a desire for others to be deprived of something, and then what? I want it. Okay, I need you to be deprived of it, and I want it. You have it, but I need it from you. So I think here, contentment is extremely important. And one beautiful thing I read, okay, to be content, meaning Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, contentment is a wealth that never exhausts. Because when I'm content, I'm not comparing myself anymore. Hasad, I'm going to give you the antidote here, please, and pay attention to this. The essence, the heart, the core, the pinnacle of hasad, meaning envy, is comparison. If you stop comparing, and you can have a superiority comparison or an inferiority comparison. But when you're content, meaning if I gain $1, great. If I don't gain it, great. My heart doesn't have a want. I don't have a desire to please you. I don't have anything I don't have a comparison. Whatever I have, I'm okay with. I have too much. If I have a piece of bread or I have a whole bakery, I feel the same in here. That is beauty in terms of these kinds of things. So I think contentment is a beautiful thing. If you feel envious towards anybody, make yourself become content with what you have. You will stop comparing yourself to others. Number 2 is for that person that you're envious of, in the middle of the night, wake up, and if you pray, and hopefully you do, pray for them. You want to watch your heart flip? Let's say you're driving and you see a guy in a nice car, okay? Or someone who owns a nice car. Guy, girl, doesn't matter. And then your heart touches envy. Just for a second. Let's say you're not an envious person, but it touches envy. And you feel that man, I wish this guy would have crashed his car. And I want tomorrow to make $1 million, and I want to get the exact same car. I think here, if you felt that emotion, go in the middle of the night or the next time you pray, and remember that person's face and pray for them. You want to traverse your heart? Watch what happens there. And I think that is so powerful. Now, and I think the last thing I'll say here, guys, is trust in Allah's divine wisdom. He's apportioned. He's given other people things that He doesn't want you to have. But at the end of the day, when you compare, Don't just compare the house from the outside because it's so big. Go to the inside of the house and see that the guy or the woman that's there, they may have cancer. Let's say they can't sleep more than 2 hours a night. Let's say their kid is a quadriplegic. Don't just take what they have that looks great from the outside. Don't just compare from the outside. Go to the inside. Take their problems too. You want the house? Take the problems that come with the house. Okay. Now you start to see that, you know what? I want nothing that you have. Keep what you have. I don't want it. Because when you see the problems that they have, you won't want it. Trust me, you won't want it. Ask Allah, if it's good for me, Allah, give it to me. I want it. There's nothing wrong with wanting things. But as long as I don't wish for you to lose it, there's nothing wrong with it. I want what he has. I want what she has. No problem. There's nothing wrong with that. Be inspired by others. No problem. But at the end of the day, ask Allah and ask this way. Ya Allah, if it's good for me, give it to me. And if you do this, there's actually a hadith about this. And if you do this, you start to see that Allah will give you, even when you don't want it, Allah will start to give it to you. Let's say you really wanted it at one point, and now you don't want it, Allah will give it to you. It's so powerful when you can drop your want. It's extremely powerful. Last thing I'll say here, guys, is this. What was so interesting about this research was when I took these three, kibr, ujb, and hasad. Kibr, pride. Self-conceit, which is ujb, and then the last one is hasad, meaning envy. When I took these three and I put it on the 5-factor model, and I seen where all these line up, and I wanted to see on what main factor do they actually load on. And this was the interesting part of the research. The research showed that people who are low in agreeableness, meaning they're easily triggered and they are very difficult to convince. All these three, envy, hasad, and what? Envy, which is hasad, self-conceit, which is ujb, and kibr, which is arrogance and pride, all loaded on, they had a common characteristic of a person who is low on agreeableness, meaning they're very difficult to convince. So if you have a hard time listening to people, if you're listening and your phone is in your hand, if you're talking to people, you're watching a movie and your phone is in your hand, be careful, because what you're displaying is low agreeableness, meaning you're low on agreeableness. So you're disagreeable. Be careful with these patterns. Be careful with who you are, because at the end of the day, there's going to be a moment where your eyes are going to shut and you're not going to be able to open them again. And the other side of the world, the other side of the new world you're going to enter, just like you passed away in the old world and you were born into this one, you're going to pass away from this one and you're going to be reborn in the next one. And then Allah is going to show you reality. It's not what you had up here. It's not what you thought reality was. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the person who submits willingly in here. And you allow yourself to graduate and elevate towards ultimate perfection, absolute perfection, which is Allah. And when you start to pick a perfected way of life, like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you start to ascend towards your own perfection. Because the closer you get to the Prophet in behavior, conduct, and action, you're getting closer to your own perfection. Think about that. And inshallah, pray for me, and I'm praying for you constantly. So please, at the end of the day, take care of each other. Be kind to each other. When you see someone in need, help them. And I just want to say one thing before I leave, is I was with someone like the other day, and a lot of people look down at this person. And they're very young. And they actually inspired me in so many ways. Because they were walking and they saw a person that was in need. They didn't even hesitate. It was so instantaneous from the heart. It was so there that it was this person's nature just to give. And they're very young. And when they did that, man, something happened in my heart. I'm like, good for you. Good for you. Because there's something so special about your heart. So take care of each other. Take care of people. Everyone is in need. All of us are in need because we are all limited. So bow down to the unlimited. And I'll see you next time.